The story of an ice cube.
Dude, very fast.
Story of an ice cube. This is Bill the ice cube, and he likes being in the freezer. He's made of water, but he's in the solid formation. Because when you're in the solid formation, the particles are closer together. See? And so when it gets colder, for a liquid, like when it turns into a solid, the particles get packed closer together. So then you don't have much space they don't have much space to move around. Like here, they don't have much space to go and like swerve around each other like they usually do. So they just vibrate next to each other, and they don't. That's why they have their own form. One day, Bob decides to go sunbathing. And so he realized that he was starting to drip. He said, "What's happening?" Because he didn't know that if an ice cube goes outside, then he'll start melting. Because the particles in the ice cube, when something gets heated up, the particles expand. For a liquid, they're not super close together, but they're not super far apart. So they would be like this, and they would go around each other like this. But not too much like that, but maybe just a little bit, like swerving around each other very slowly. And so that's what happens with the liquid particles when something gets hot. They start to expand, and they start moving around each other some more. So he started to melt. "Oh no," he said. And then he got really warm and started to melt. No! And his glasses started floating away. So he got really sad because he melted, but he wanted to stay an ice cube but get a tan, but that's impossible. So sorry, Bill. So Bill melted because of the sun and the particles, and they expanded. Sorry, Bill. And then Bill realized he was starting to evaporate. That's when when it gets really, really hot. Not really hot out, but that's when it gets hot out. When it gets hot out, and then you start evaporating. That happens. That didn't make sense, but okay. But that happens like this. So the particles from the liquid are like this, but then particles from the gas go even further apart. And so they can move around as freely as they want. So now this is a gas. He's turning into a gas. Yay, Bill! You're turning into a gas. That's yay, I guess. And so when he turns into a gas, like I said, it's when it's how these apart, and he can take any, and he doesn't necessarily have a shape himself, but he takes on the shape of the air and just spreads out more or less. And then Bill realized that he had been turned into a gas. And he went into the clouds and is water vapor, and now he's coming down. It's a raindrop. Yay! Bill might actually be able to turn into an ice cube again and proceed his normal ice cube life. Bill fell from the sky, and then he landed into a glass, an empty cup. And so he says, "Yay!" And then the owner dumped out the glass into an ice cube tray. And Bill was into an ice cube tray. Then the particles got closer packed together, and so he started turning into an ice cube again. Because when it gets colder, the particles in an ice cube, or particles, they come closer together when it gets colder. So they only have space to vibrate a little, because they lose energy. That's what happens when something gets warmer. It starts losing energy, so the particles keep getting, I don't know how to say it, but when it gets warmer, the particles space out more because they're losing more energy. And then when it gets colder, they get closer together. When it gets colder, they get closer together because they're gaining more energy. Isn't that cool? And then he finally, after a little while, turned back into an ice cube. All his little ice cube friends thought it was so amazing how he was a gas and a liquid. How amazing! Bill finally proceeded his normal life, and everybody loved him. And he got big, strong muscles. Thank you for watching. No ice cubes were harmed in the making of this film.